You're listening to the Reflective Teacher Podcast, and this is episode number 12. I'm Selena Woodward, and I'm an English and drama teacher, university lecturer, and with edufolios.org, a big-time reflective practitioner. So how can reflective practice help you grow your teaching skills, fall in love with your profession all over again, and help you nail accreditation and teacher registration with less stress and less work? Well, this is the Reflective Teacher Podcast. Should you be on social media as an educator? Should you be using Twitter and Facebook, Instagram? Is it okay to have a profile on there if you're a teacher? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this episode today, episode 12. And as always, show notes for today can be found at edufolios.org/012. You probably want to have a look at those notes because they're going to contain some further help, some links and ideas to help clarify some of the things we're going to talk about today. When we think of social media, particularly perhaps something like Twitter, what pops into your head? When I think about Twitter, I'm thinking about the millions of educators I know are there 24/7 talking about teaching, learning, planning, technology integration, and so many other wonderful things. And I know that if I didn't understand or know the world of educators in Twitter, I may have a very different view about what Twitter was about and why I should avoid it as an educator. So in today's podcast, I'm asking you to think outside the box again. I want you to open your mind to the idea that what you perceive social media as, a place to gossip and share, social stories, follow what the latest is in, Married at First Sight, see what gossip is going on with the Kardashians and other nonsense that is not helpful, is not what I am talking about when I mention social media as an educator. There is a difference, isn't there, between your professional life and your personal life. And it is totally okay to have a social media account that you do use to stalk your favorite celebrity. But as an educator, it is also absolutely fine. In fact, it's quite powerful to have an online presence as a teacher as well. They would be very separate things and ne'er the twain shall meet. But the professional version of social media is a powerhouse of professional development, networking, and learning that I really do not want you to miss out on. You see, when you're on Twitter, you have the opportunity to join in on things called tweet-ups or Twitter chats. And these things happen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because you have access to a global community of educators. So no longer do you need to only ask your colleagues in the staff room or in your local area or your school. You can ask a question of anyone around the world. And often you'll find that these questions are being asked by everyone around the world. We are all dealing with very, very similar issues in education at the moment. And there is a lot of power in uniting our voices and sharing our experiences. Twitter chats happen using something called a hashtag on Twitter. Now, you might have heard of hashtags and you might instantly be thinking of some strange spoiled brat with a strange accent who's like, oh my God, but that is not what is happening in the education space. A hashtag in the education space, as it is anywhere else, is actually a little bit like changing the channel on the radio or the television. You know, for example, that ABC for Kids is on channel 22. Well, if you want to talk about education, you can type in the # or the hashtag and ed chat, and you will find conversations around the world of educators talking about education. And these hashtags happen 24/7 across the world. Twitter chats use these hashtags, but they use them to concentrate people for a very short time at a specific time. So my favorite one is a Tuesday night. We have something called PST chat. So hashtag PSTCHAT. And that stands for Pre-Service Teacher Chat. What's really interesting about that chat is it happens the same time every week on a Tuesday night. but it has a different person leading it every week and a different topic every week. And although it is called the Pre-Service Teacher, PST chat, it is often led by people who are not pre-service teachers, who are sharing their expertise with a new generation of educators. And it is really, really interesting. We've had conversations in there about assessment, about reflective practice, about special educational needs. Lots of variety, which is why it's one of my favorites. Now, as I say, these Twitter chats happen regularly, 24/7, globally, because there's always a teacher awake somewhere in the world. And there is actually a Twitter chat timetable. And I'm going to share that link on edufolios.org/012, and you can go and get that timetable and look for the things you're interested in. There are Twitter chats on science, PE, English, assessment, differentiation, all sorts of topics, and you can choose to tune in and out of them. They are there and they are full of collegial conversations. They are external professional communities and forums that you can use to broaden your knowledge and improve your practice. And that language was, my friends, taken directly from the proficient focus area of 7.4. This definitely is something you can use to develop and broaden your knowledge and improve your practice. So why wouldn't you? The same goes with Instagram. If you're on Instagram, we also have hashtags. So #TeacherLife, #EdChat. They're all there. And you can use these hashtags in exactly the same way you would in Twitter to tune into particular conversations. Instagram is a more visual space to Twitter, and it's often led by photographs, people sharing photographs of what they're doing and how they're doing it. And it's a really different way of interacting. And a collegial conversation may happen in the comments underneath a photograph, or it might happen in a direct message or a DM, a direct message with the person who posted their picture in the first place. But they are always great places to contribute to professional networks and build productive links with wider communities so you can improve your teaching and learning and impact on others. Oh, you've guessed it. That was 7.4 highly accomplished. Absolutely. You need to be looking into this social media space as a place where you can host or lead an event or be part of and writing about some professional learning in these spaces. Honestly, trust me, there is definitely a place for social media. The other reason that you should check these spaces out is because every time you have one of these conversations, you are working on your professional development hours. So if you're busy collecting PD hours or PL hours, the time you spend networking in these spaces absolutely counts. There is not a single registration board who does not include the ability to network with others as professional development and learning, as long as when you write and talk and reflect about what you've been doing in that chat, you are talking about the impact that those conversations have or are going to have on your practice in the future. And remember, in episode 7, which you can access at edufolios.org/007, we talked about how you can take a 20-minute PD and turn it into up to 20 hours of professional development. This is another one of those catalyst moments which could turn into hours and hours and hours of professional learning. The quality of the conversations in these places is incredibly high. One little thing I would ask you to do, though, is to remember to share your progress with the person who inspired you to learn this thing in the first place. Because don't forget that highly accomplished, those people who hosted that or shared that advice would love to know how what they've taught you is impacting on you and your students and how that's helping you to improve what you're doing with your students. That's really valuable evidence for them for what they're doing in their classroom and how they're impacting on others. Okay, so let's share that with them. If you're still not sure, if you're still thinking, Selena, what are you talking about? Why the heck would I put myself out there on social media? It is so much better to just stay away from all of that. It is a minefield. I am just not interested. Let me see if I can add another focus area in for you. Okay, let's go to standard 4 and look at the focus area descriptors for 4.5. At 4.5 at graduate, I'm talking to you, uni guys and gals, you got to demonstrate an understanding of the relevant issues and strategies available to you to support the way in which you use IT ethically, socially, etc. This is the perfect opportunity for you to demonstrate that you understand how to be in these spaces as a professional, networking 7.4, learning from colleagues 6.2, but doing so socially and ethically, doing it safely. There is a wealth of evidence you can take from talking about how you set up your digital footprint, how you present yourself online, and what other people see of you when they go and Google you. And we'll talk a bit more about that. For those of you who've been teaching for a while and are moving through those career stages, let's head all the way up to highly accomplished at 4.5, where the language is know how to create safe spaces online. Okay, you've got to model how it's done. I'm asking you to show that you know how to do this so that you can begin to use these kinds of ideas in your classrooms. Yes, I would go as far as saying it is okay to have a Twitter account as a class. In fact, it's a great way to manage some of the requirements of the ICT general capability. No, I am not saying that 30 10-year-olds should sign up for Twitter. That would be illegal and ridiculous and definitely the antithesis of the evidence you want for 4.5. But if you can learn how to manage these spaces effectively and support your students to use them ethically, then you are definitely going to be demonstrating highly accomplished evidence because the impact you're going to have is going to be incredibly strong. There is and there will always be a reason for you to be connected to others. And the social media networks are wonderful places to do just that, to connect with others. So finally, if you're concerned about being Googled and wondering what people will find out about you, I want you to think about it like this. And you may even want to have a little go at this. Open up your web browser and type your name into a search engine. If nothing comes up, type your work email in and see what comes up. The reality is at some point in your life, you're going to be Googled, if we can verbify that. All right, someone's going to Google you, whether that be a principal, a future job prospect, a parent. Someone is going to Google you to see what they can find for one reason or another. For example, say I'm a principal and I have 2 candidates that are super strong and I cannot choose. Maybe I'm going to Google both of them and see what comes up so I can get more information. Who's going to get the job? The one who is proactive, reflective, and professional online, who is telling me more about their story, who is demonstrating they can connect, network, and grow in these spaces, that they are thoughtful, that they are learning all the time, that they understand what it looks like to be professional in these spaces, or the person for whom absolutely nothing comes up. I really believe that the person who has a handle on this, who can demonstrate they understand this space, and who can harness that to help them grow and learn is definitely going to be one step ahead. What do you think? Now, if you're already on Twitter or Instagram, you will find edufolios on both of those spaces. I'd also invite you to come find me, Selena Woodward. I am at Teacher Technol. Come and find me. Say hi to me. Connect with me. I love connecting with new people. Come and find me and say hi. Let me introduce you to my network on Twitter. I would love to do that. But make sure you connect with us and say hi. In fact, it would be awesome if we could start using the hashtag reflectionist to start connecting our tweets and our thoughts about reflective practice and the Reflective Teacher podcast. So my challenge to you today is to tweet something with the hashtag reflectionist, or to post something on Instagram that has the hashtag reflectionist, and to connect with us in both of those spaces. Let's start networking and learning from each other, 7.4ing everywhere. And let's start demonstrating that we understand how to do that ethically, 4.5. Now, if you need support to do that, head to edufolios.org/012 to get some extra support and resources to help you, including the links to find us on Twitter and Instagram. Now, as always, I will be available to answer questions on this through either of those social media channels, but also when we go live on this. And I will place a link on the post at edufolios.org/012 to help you find me and connect with me and ask me those questions. And I cannot wait to hear them. I also can't wait to connect with you all. It's going to be great. All right, so next week, we will be back with episode 13. Now, that is very lucky, okay? I live in a house with a number 13. Don't be superstitious. It's okay. Right. And episode number 13 is all about what you need to bear in mind when you choose where you're going to gather your evidence, whether that be a folder, an online portfolio, a website, whatever you're going to use. What are the things you need to be considering as you make those decisions? So next week, we're talking about choosing where we put all our evidence and how we can make sure we've got a tool that's going to work for us. All right. Thank you again for tuning in to the Reflective Teacher podcast. I will see you next Wednesday, or hopefully online in between on one of those awesome social media networks. Take care, and I'll see you next week.